Chapter 5. Fateful Meeting. I just thought of something. Lior became a teacher to bring up an opponent who could fight him on equal footing, but why did I become a teacher in my previous life? Well, officially, it was because my work became hard in terms of age and I decided to pass the torch to the next generation, but my real motive was a certain girl. I suppose it was when I dismantled some illegal human trafficking network. I sneaked in its facilities and crushed it, but there were many unidentified children inside. Thus, the organization I belonged to investigated them and they were either returned to their families or sent to orphanages, but there was a girl who didn't leave my side. Though I rescued a child right before she got experimented on, I looked like a hero to her at the time and she became abnormally attached to me. She didn't have any parents either, and since she didn't want to part from me no matter what, I decided to take care of her. I couldn't just take her and go, so I entrusted her to a woman who I could trust, and the girl was surprisingly obedient. When I took her, she seemed satisfied. Although we could hardly meet because I was busy with work, the girl was glad. One day, she started to say that she wanted me to teach her about my work. She wanted to help me with it. She said that she wished to become like the dreamy hero who saved her. My work wasn't actually such a pretty thing, I was a hitman. Even though I showed her the dirty part of it, the girl's will didn't change. At the sight of such a girl, I thought that I should retire and become a teacher since I had reached that age. She had the habit of calling me father sometimes, but the girl became my first student. Though I became a teacher for such a trivial reason, I gradually became happier as I witnessed the growth of the pupil. I grew to like teaching, and that seems unchanged regardless of my reincarnation. My motive for becoming a teacher was something along those lines. And once again, a similar situation has approached. It's been a year since I met Fia and Lior. I turned 6-year-old. I finished my morning training, and I'm exploring the Adroad continent today. Lately, I stopped searching for people from the sky, and my exploration is often done by walking around in the forest. I attack the incoming monsters, making them scatter in order to find edible plants, but mainly to train as an adventurer. Oh, found a matsutake tilde. Serious, it's not the matsutake of my previous life, but rather a mushroom that resembles it. Though it has an official name, I call it a matsutake mushroom since I'm used to that. It's rare and delicious as it is, so I wonder if I should add it in today's dinner. As I harvest it with a pleased face, I start feeling hungry, partly from thinking about dinner. It's almost noon according to the sun. I sit on some random rock, and I take out a lunchbox as I fold my hands. Since the other three make lunch at random, I wonder who it was today. So it's Alina today, serious, with multicolored side dishes inside. It's also packed with a vegetarian sandwich and meat, which is my favorite food. Since my growth advanced remarkably recently, so did my appetite. Last year, I'd have gotten a full stomach from half of this, but I can now wolf down the whole thing. Delicious. Oops, I have to call her. Serious. I gather a small amount of mana, and I fire it while aiming at Alina in the distance. Yes. Canis Major here. There is nothing abnormal in my current lunch. It's also delicious today. Over. Serious, that wasn't a monologue just now. It's my newly developed spell call. When you aim it at a specific party, the spell delivers them the words by firing mana in a similar way to that of radio waves. As for the receiving side's impression, it seems that they hear it in the form of a strange sensation that resounds directly in their brain. It's certainly very convenient, like a cell phone, but only I can use it, so it's just a one-way traffic from here. However, though I say radio waves, there is a high chance of it leaking to other people with a similar wavelength on its way, because it's still mana after all. Therefore, I call myself by code names and make sure not to say the other party's name. Though there seems to be a wind spell that sends out the voice on the wind and fires it in the distance, call is still in the testing stage. Even so, I use it regardless of that, since receiving my voice gives a sense of security to Alina. I have to experiment it in a place crowded with people sometime and check its maximum range. I finish my one-way report and resume my lunch. I wonder how can such an exquisite taste be brought out. I couldn't reproduce the same flavor though I tried copying it several times. It seems my tastes are well known. Having finished 80% of the lunchbox, I move my search spell because I feel a presence from the depths of the forest. Since I perceive something approaching at a high speed with the radar in my brain, I interrupt my meal and put my lunchbox away as the thing comes in sight. With limbs as elegant as a horse's and an abnormally fat body, it's a strangely unbalanced beast that has two big, splendid horns. If I remember correctly, I believe it was called a Bianafong. It appears that I'm his target. He sets in a ferocious body blow while pointing his two horns toward my direction. It's so dull. Oh, his speed is terrific, but the impressive frontal attack is easy to dodge. I slash at him as we pass each other, but the sword's cut is shallow. It's to the degree where it just left a small wound on his face. Because of his hard skin, it seems like it's impossible to kill him without strengthening my power. As I think that, the monster returns and approaches once again, so I avoid it. Earlier, I evaded horizontally, but I do it upward this time. I'll try to kill him quickly, before the monster starts struggling, by landing on his back rather than the ground. How's this? I stab the middle of his forehead near the brain with the mithril knife I got when I met FIA. As expected of mithril, the knife sinks with hardly any resistance. The monster trembles only for an instant and his gigantic body crumbles to the ground. This guy's legs are unusually splendid, but are they tasty? Well, it should be alright to just roast them this time. Right. This monster has a hard skin that can repel edge tools. It seems that he could face a group of intermediate adventurers as his opponents thanks to his strong body blows, but one can manage just fine by attacking his weak point with a sharp blade. In Lior's case, I think he would cut him right in half from the front and be done with it. As I put away the roasted sirloin in my bag without treating the blood, I once again feel a presence from the depths of the forest. I activate search, nearly in sync, and I get a signal of a similar monster. Although the monster is moving to another direction rather than here, he's heading toward two presences which I felt before. It can't be what I think it is. I examine the reaction with a more detailed search as I run to the monster. There is no mistaking it, that's a humanoid presence. Avoiding the branches, or using them to rebound, I keep sprinting to soar through the forest. I proceed uneventfully without losing any speed at all, and I finally catch sight of the presences. Right beside a tree broken by the monster's body blow, there are two fallen and exhausted children. Aiming at those children, the Bianafang pushes his foot off the ground right before rushing forward. There is only one thing to do. Dropkick. I dive with a stable strength, and I hammer down with both feet on the side of the monster's face using a kick that would put a pro wrestler to shame. Since boost adds to it, the monster is blown away horizontally and mows down several trees as he goes rolling. I think that wasn't enough to defeat him, so I keep chase. Magnum. I accurately deliver the decisive blow by shooting the bullet in the rolling monster's head. Although the head exploded, from what I see, it appears to have been exploded by the kick, or so I think. But, what's with this? Did the power of the gun magic grow stronger? I feel like it's stronger than the main family. I hold that thought back. Other monsters might gather because of the blood smell. Have to get this over with, it seems. The two children who collapsed are beastkins, a boy and a girl. Their age is about the same as mine. Their hair color is silver. They have bushy-looking straight tails and wolf-like ears. The girl seems to be older and their looks are similar, so I wonder, are they siblings? However, the pair's attire is bad. They have a piece of cloth that only hides the essential parts of their thin, skinny bodies, which are full of scars and bruises. The most worrying things are the rustic metallic collars around their necks. Their size is way too big, and it's not the kind of accessory that a child would put on at all. The boy is unconscious, but the girl opens her eyes and faces this way with a blank look of surprise. As I suspect that her gaze is directed to me, the girl pulls herself together while glaring and protecting the boy with her hand. Has her throat been damaged? Her voice is cracked and I can't hear it properly. I've seen worn-out people like that in my previous life. Nobody cares for them, they live in a few lawless areas without the country's blessing, slaves. Without any human rights and the like, all those slaves who are treated like consumable goods and discarded had dead eyes. However, this girl is different. She's in a situation where she's worn out and can't fully move her body, yet despite that, her eyes show a strong determination. Protect little brother. That was the voice that I managed to pick up from the girl by strengthening my hearing. As I approach step by step, she tries to escape at the same pace, but her body seems to not be listening. One more step. Her body is shaking. She's completely frightened by me, but she doesn't avert her eyes, nor does she separate her hand from her brother. I take another step. The girl is under my eyes. My getting closer while concealing my hand, is that what's scaring her? Even so, her eyes aren't dead. I bend a little to match her line of sight and I put my hand on the girl's head while talking slowly. It's alright. I am not your enemy. I tell her the same. Right now, the girl is in a state where she sees enemies everywhere, so I first have to relieve her by making her understand that I won't harm her at all. You're protecting your younger brother, aren't you? You did your best. I'll help you, so please take it easy now. I pat her ruffled hair affectionately. With the girl from my past, I messed it up by doing it in a rough manner, but this time, I try to do it in the same way Elena does it for me. I think it worked. The girl's vigilance fades away and she simultaneously falls unconscious, shedding a trickle of tears. Good grief, I still don't know these children's true colors, but this turn of events is weird. Children being chased by this kind of monsters isn't an uncommon thing in this world. No one would blame me even if I leave them like that. Rather, it would become troublesome if I don't leave them. I am still 6-year-old and there is Alina and Kotu. Thinking about the future, we can't afford to support 2 more people. However, I said that I'd help. They have dog ears, but I can't pretend having picked them up like pets, can I? What would Elena say about that? As I worry, the surrounding presences increase, being lured by the blood. There is no more time, so it can't be helped. For the time being, hold. Tying the 2 with string and carrying them, I fly away from the place. And so, I came to borrow your wisdom, old man. Please do something. I changed location to Lior's home. Lior gave me a puzzled look when I came over carrying the 2, but he didn't say anything in particular and prepared a bed. I laid the 2 on the prepared bed and immediately got to explaining the circumstances. I consulted him while I was at it since he is an elder. What's with that? So irresponsible. Even if you ask me to do something, you're the one who picked them up. Figured as much, Tilda. Well, I've already decided what to do about it anyway. Even without me having to tell you, didn't you already make your decision? What the heck are you hesitating about? Nothing, it's just Alina. Ha 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 ha. The strong man who took me down is frightened by one of his attendants. Shut up, Alina is scary. It's a fear that only relatives know. My old self didn't know it, but that retired old man wouldn't know it either. I suppose it's clear from the flow of the chat, but I made the decision to go back home with these 2. I might end up even quarreling with Elena, but I have no alternative to that other than abandoning these fellows. Though it didn't really bother me, why did you bring them to my place? You simply could have gone directly to your home. I sincerely just wanted to borrow your wisdom. But first I want to ask you, are these 2 slaves? They're ragged all over and they have those strange collars too. Although I'm almost sure that they're slaves, I want to hear the opinion of Lior, who traveled the world. They're slaves, no doubt about it. That collar is the most conclusive evidence. As I thought. Does this collar have any effects other than its looks? Though I can feel a little mana from it. It's a tool called subjugation collar. When a contractor equips it to someone, he takes hold of his life. If the contractor so wishes, it can cause that someone's body in acute pain, and even if he runs away, the collar keeps emitting mana to transmit his position. To make things worse, that emitted mana comes from the equipped person. As the mana lessen, The person gets gradually exhausted until she eventually dies. If it's true, then it will be a problem if we don't remove it as soon as possible. That's the thing. It seems like it can't be removed without the contractor's key. Moreover, breaking it physically can harm the equipped person, which is troublesome in various ways. Looking properly, I see a keyhole on a part of the collar. It's nothing complex, just a typical lock made to simply insert a key. However, the mana of the collar is pouring out from there. Is this location being transmitted to the contractor right now? From what I heard, there is a complex magic formation drawn inside the keyhole. This seems to be an intermediate rank collar. Since it takes a lot of time and effort to make, it's quite expensive. Lior, doesn't matter if it's expensive, I don't like these kind of things. But is there a way to take it off by breaking it? Serious, maybe I can take the risk and try to slice it off with my sword. Lior, though I believe in your skill with your weapon, let's leave that as a last resort. Hold on for now, I want to try out something. Serious, oh ho. I wonder what you're gonna pull off this time. Lior, setting aside the excited old man standing behind me, should I try with the boy first? I hold my hand on top of the collar and activate Scan, a new spell. This spell passes mana through the target. It's an investigation spell that depicts the object inside the brain. In my previous life's terms, it's X-ray imaging. If search is suited for wide-range exploration, Scan is intended to enhance the accuracy by narrowing the general target to the minimum. The drawback is that it can't depict it in detail if it's not at a hand's distance. I experimented it with magic tools and found that it's harmless. I also confirmed its safety toward humans by asking Beat to cooperate with his permission. Grasping the internal structure of the collar, I redirect the scan to focus it on the magical formation. This modified scan doesn't show the internal structure of the object but only shows the inner structure of the mana. Though I don't understand the meaning of the effects drawn on the magic formation, I can see the source of the mana. If it's as Lior said, then this collar should have 4 abilities: giving acute pain, absorbing mana, emitting mana, and harming the contracted when breaking. As expected, looking at the mana formation, 4 cores are reflected. Among those 2 are turned on. I guess that's the mana absorption and emission. If I somehow deal with the other 2, I might be good to go. I extend 2 thin string from my left hand. I intrude them from the keyhole and direct them toward the magic formation. Holding the mana, I whirl it around all over to cover the circumference of the 2 problematic cores. Confirming that the 2 are enclosed without a gap, I grip my mithril knife in my right hand and draw it close to the collar. Please forgive me if I fail. Serious, I converge the string to constrict the cores and crush them. At the same time, I slice the collar with the knife. The collar makes a thick cling sound and slowly rolls to my feet. As Lior tenses up, I put my hand on the boy's face. Breathing confirmed. He's alive. Serious, phew, thank goodness. Lior, though it was almost. You're amazing as usual. The fellows who broke their collars before ended up bleeding from their whole bodies and dying. Lior, if you know those kind of results, don't go trying to slice it with your sword. Serious, I thought that maybe I could slice it while aiming at the magic formation. Ha 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 ha. Lior started laughing out loud without any hint of shame. I understand his reasoning, but his attitude is pissing me off. However, there are wounded people before me, so I don't voice my thoughts. I follow by breaking the girl's collar and examining it, but it's just junk that doesn't emit anything now since it's not absorbing its target's mana. Knowing its magic formation in detail might be useful for something. I wonder if I should take it home. Well then, now that I removed their collars, what's gonna happen to these 2? Serious, a collar is a slave's identification. Since there should be nothing that can remove it except if the master opens it, you can think of them as civilians. Lior, how does one become a slave in the first place? I could understand if they were criminals. But these 2 are too young to be criminals. Serious, normally criminals are the ones made to fall into slavery, but these 2 were definitely kidnapped. Because their species is rare around here. Lior, rare, do you know it? Serious, this silvery hair and wolf tail. They're probably from the Silver Wolf tribe. Lior, the Silver Wolf tribe. They have a silver wolf's ears and tail, and they are one of the numerous beastkin tribes. Their total population is small, and their combat efficiency is generally high. It's a unique tribe that lives deep in the forest. Though they also have a lot of rough and short-tempered people among them, it seems to be a race that thinks about its companions and cherishes the bond between the tribe and the family. And that's it. The source is the all-purpose Alberto's Travel Diary. It doesn't matter if they are rare or whatnot. These two aside, I'm the one with a problem here. Serious, what should I tell Alina? I want to keep it. I want to keep it. I want to keep this slave Tilda. Should I throw a childish tantrum? No, not gonna happen. At worst I can take care of them, Leor, though I appreciate the sentiment. This is my issue. Serious, I personally decided to pick up these fellows. That's enough, I need to steel myself. I trigger call and aim at Alina, thinking about what I should say. North Star here. I'm coming back now because I picked up 2 children due to certain circumstances. Please prepare a bed in the guest room. Over. Serious, I report what I have to say and take a deep breath. Since I can't see the other party's response, this one-way phone calling is scary. I want to improve it somehow. Well then, maybe I should hurry back home. Old man, do you have big bags or something like that? Serious, I do indeed, but what are you going to put there? Leor, I want to put the pair there. It's a wild movement prevention and it will block some of the wind pressure too. Serious, I see. Here, you can have these, Leor, thank you. I'll do this in return. Serious, I push what little remains of the lunchbox into the old man's mouth. It's a very rude move, but this delicious dish is justice. The fact is that the stuffed by force old man is smiling. You're so lucky to have an attendant whose cooking is this delicious. Well, you make delicious meals as well. Won't you make me some next time, Leor? Since I've been in his care here several times, I occasionally cook a meal so that we can eat it together. I'm not your attendant, old man, but I'll do it if I feel like it. Serious, holding a bag, in which the 2 are wrapped up, under each arm, I rush home thinking that I look like a kidnapper. Noelle sighed. My name is Noelle. I'm one of the lovely attendants who serve Master Sirius-sama. Because Sirius-sama is still a 6-year-old child, we support him, is what I want to say, but Sirius-sama is so amazing that he doesn't really need support. Using magic at merely 3 years old, he now keeps developing new spells and has the ability to have a match with D, who's an adventurer, and win. Furthermore, he holds knowledge far beyond ours and he makes the best use of it every day just for our sake. He's a man of great ability. On top of that, he's a great cook. He created various dishes never seen before and we're delighted whenever he introduces one. Especially so for the mayonnaise and pouting, which were revolutions. The first time I tasted it I was stunned for a while, wondering how can such a delicious dish be. I feel happy whenever I recall it. Oops. I'm digressing. However, that Sirius-sama's attribute is colorless. The attribute of the misfortune which is ridiculed as useless by the world. Though I don't know who came up with that idea, I think that person was mistaken because it's definitely not useless. On the contrary, we were shown that we're the more incompetent ones. He's such a flawless person, but right now, he's scratching the back of his head with a very nervous face. It's my first time seeing Sirius-sama this flustered. It's so cute, unlike his usual manliness. This is the guest room and there are 2 beastkins laid on the bed. How did it turn out like this? Well, it was this afternoon. When I finished eating my lunch, I was asked to clean the guest room by Alina-san. I quickly finished cleaning and Sirius-sama came back home looking for Elena-san in order to report to her. I headed to the entry hall while thinking that he had come back early today. He had been holding 2 big bags as well. At the time, I had thought that maybe the contents of the bags were some new ingredients. I tried asking about the contents of the bags while a little excited, but he avoided the question and didn't answer. When Elena-san and D-san came toward the guest room, Sirius-sama made up his mind and took out the contents of the bags. What did Noelle? D-san and I froze still. Why, ragged children. and they were too as well. Only Elena-san was unfazed when she confirmed the children's state. She hurled instructions at us. D. Bring some medicines and hot water. Noel. Bring a change of clothes for 2 people. Elena. Yes. Noel. Yes. D. Serious-sama. Since I'll ask for the reason later. Put the 2 people on the bed for now. Alina, I understand. Serious, and like that each one of you's filed his role in the basic medical treatment of the 2 soon came to an end. Though he still has a nervous expression, Serious-sama starts telling us about the reason for this. Long story short, he found the 2 being attacked by a monster while strolling in the forest, and he defeated that monster to protect them. Which one did you kidnap first? Though that thought crossed my mind, Serious-sama isn't that kind of person. I'm a beastkin, yet he doesn't discriminate against me, and he's such a great person that he became friends with Elf-san and Gusurugi-san. However, these children's attire, I'm familiar with it. Apparently, these 2 people are slaves. Serious, it's only natural that I'm familiar with it. Because even I was a slave. Though I was saved before the worst happened, these children might have been made to experience worse things than me. However, what's going on? Doesn't it require a collar to be a slave? I broke their collars. But I thought that I should treat them because their injuries were too severe, and so I brought them along. Serious, you broke the collars. Alina and Noel and D, what does that mean? Breaking that collar should be lethal. I've seen it happen over and over again. Since we're too surprised, he tells us the destruction method. Yes, we learned how absolutely impossible it is for us to do it. I understand your motives. At any rate, we'll let them sleep until they wake up. Alina, please do. I'll go prepare a meal for the weekend pair. Serious, Noel, can I rely on you to wait and see, please? Because they'll be less vigilant if they see you. A beastkin. When they wake up. Elena. Yes. Of course. Noel. Serious-sama. Let me help you. D. No, D. You must stay here with Noel to act as a liaison in case something happens. Serious, I understand. D. When Serious-sama and Alina-san leave the room, it suddenly becomes quiet. D-san is not a talkative person, and I don't feel like telling a useless story. I put a chair besides the bed and I sit in a position from which I can see the faces of both of the 2. Is D restraining himself? He's sitting at a slightly distant position. I keep silently looking at the faces of the 2 for a while. Nevertheless, they're in a really bad condition. They have scars from being whipped, bruises from being forcibly tied up, and many fresh wounds. I too received that treatment in the past. My body still shivers whenever I recall that. Though my dignity as a woman wasn't scathed to avoid reducing my selling price, it still was a terrible time. If I hadn't been saved by Arya-sama at the time, how would I have ended up? Scary. I'm very happy now, so why am I trembling so much despite that? Noel. D comes and taps my shoulder. Though he has his usual expressionless face, I can see that he's worried for me. Since he knows my past, I'm sure he wants to tell me to not think too much about it. I'm alright, Noel. Okay, D, that's right, I'm different now. My wounds and bruises have already disappeared, and I'm happy from being surrounded by everyone, aren't I? Let's think about these children for now. Well then, what should I tell them when they wake up? It's alright, you're safe now. That's too common, right? Snap out of it, you scum. That's the wording that Serious-sama used before, but it feels wrong somehow. You guys are lucky, but I can't just suddenly say that. However, I really do think that these children are lucky. Their becoming slaves surely was unfortunate, but they were saved by Serious-sama. If it's them, they can spend their life smiling much like I am now. But Arya-sama and Serious-sama really are mother and son. They both saved beastkin slaves. We observe attentively the state of the 2 while having D-san make tea. I notice that it's time to prepare for dinner, but I don't see any changes in the 2. I think that it's alright since they're breathing, and I suspect that they might wake up soon. As I wonder if I should report to Serious-sama, someone knock at the door. Hey, it's me. Open. Serious-sama came just at the right time. When D-san opens the door, a delicious smell fills the room. In addition, Serious-sama's hand is holding a pan. The smell seems to come from there. It's mouth-watering. Want to taste it? Serious, isn't this the two's share? Noelle, I made a little too much so it's alright. However, it's made for the weekend ones, therefore I thinned out the flavor. Serious, then, I'll accept your kind offer. Noelle, Serious-sama saw right through me. I take thin light brown soup without any ingredients inside and pour it in a cup. Yes. The taste certainly is light. However, the non-persistent rich smell pleases the nose and above all, the flavor is gentle. It slowly spreads in the stomach and pleases the spirit, something like that. Serious-sama, please teach me the recipe. Cooking also runs in D-san's blood, so there is no way he wouldn't clamor. This certainly is the best for a weekend person. I'll have him teach me too afterwards. AAA. You, girl child. Noelle. While we're complimenting the soup, the girl wakes up. Was she lured by the smell? Anyway, the beginning is essential, so I have to greet her gently. It's natural to be frightened when waking up to a stranger. Calm down, don't panic. You only have to say the words you thought of a little while ago. Easy as pie. You are alright? You're really lucky, aren't you? You scum. Noelle. Did I mix it up?